Thanks, Anthony. Thanks everybody for joining us again for our monthly webinars. We always appreciate our reoccurring attendees and everyone that's new, the first timers on the call. We appreciate your attendance. So we do these once a month. We provide content that is discussing what's going on in the 340B world. We hope you all find this very beneficial. I am Justin Rowland, the Vice President of National Sales, and I am Anthony's co-writer on the webinars. He's the content guy. I think I'm here for more of the comment relief.
You're here for the look.
That's right. So we'll go through 30 minutes, and then please ask any questions. We'll have the chat box, the Q&A, and Anthony and I will go through those in the end. But I will pass it on to the great Anthony Velasquez.
Thank you, Justin. Hey, you know what I was thinking? I saw a YouTube video of a guy who was like driving and doing like a conference meeting, but had like a green screen in the background, so it looked like he was in his house. So
yeah, I tried that. I couldn't get it.
We need to get you one of those. We need to get you one of those. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. As you all have known for probably going on 2 years now, maybe we have been doing these webinars once a month. The last couple of months, I have been doing several webinars on everything that was going on at a policy level related to the 340B program, things going on with the state level regulations, things going on at a national level, all of those things. And this month, I have a really, really good topic on credit-based replenishment. Some of you might be aware of what this is and might be doing it in your 340B program. Some of you might not know what this is, but in my opinion, I think this is going to be the future of 340B as it relates to the replenishment of drugs at contract pharmacies. So I'm going to share with you what this is, where we see this going as a company, some things that we're involved in as a company in the 340B space. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you to everyone who is joining, for the first time, and those of you that are regulars in joining these webinars. Okay, my rule number one that I always say before I start these is nothing in this presentation should be constituted as legal advice. This is all for educational purposes. Please work with your team on deciding what you do for your 340B program and things that you implement for your 340B program. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get started. Credit-based replenishment. We're going to talk about 5 things today. We're going to talk about what is it and how does it work. We're going to talk about how do you set up a credit-based replenishment model, the benefits, how it relates to DSCSA compliance. I know that was a hot topic at the end of 2023, and then it got pushed back another year, and it's gonna come around. Comes around like clockwork. And then is this the future of 340B? And I want to leave you some comments and thoughts on that. So let's go ahead and get into what is it and how does it work. All right. So what is this? Traditionally in 340B, the contract pharmacy arrangement has been, has not changed much. The third-party administrator is receiving claims from the switch. The third-party administrator is then capturing those claims and then placing orders on behalf of the entity for the contract pharmacy. And those orders are then arrived to the contract pharmacy in a tote delivery that has a label that says this is from the 340B account. The pharmacist or pharmacy receives that, they open it, and they put the drug on the shelf, right? Very traditional contract pharmacy model that has been around since the beginning of time of this contract pharmacy program replenishment model. Now, this credit-based replenishment is a little bit different, because what it does is a wholesaler enabled mechanism is what I like to call it. So the wholesaler is able to, if they participate or provide this as a feature mechanism that allows for the purchase of a 340B product, right? So you as the covered entity are still invoiced for the 340B product. That 340B product, though, instead of being physically delivered and shipped to the contract pharmacy location, is in certain instances, if it meets certain eligibility, credited to the non-340B account. Let me say that one more time. You place an order for a product, or the TPA in the traditional model will place an order, will say you accumulated a package of Levemir. We're going to order a package of Levemir, but instead of that product physically arriving at your store as a contract pharmacy recipient, the value of that product at a non-340B price will be placed on your non-340B account. So if the product, to keep it simple, is $100, $100 will be credited to your 340B account, to your non-340B account, and then the entity will be invoiced for the 340B ceiling price that is in their 340B account. Okay, so I hope I did a good job explaining that, and I hope that that was clear. But it's essentially a financial transaction. So again, charges the ceiling price to the covered entity still. The covered entity still invoiced as normal, no problem. But the product does not physically ship to the contract pharmacy. The order is placed as normal, as I said. And then you have to pick the designated store, designated contract pharmacy location, designated non-340B account in order for the financial credit to be applied. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. Justin, did that make sense to you? I know you're not in the weeds like I am, but I just want to make sure that I explained that in a way that made sense.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now, what are other things to know about this? I mean, it's not a free-for-all. There is some it's limited to a look-back period, depending on the wholesaler. So for example, usually the wholesaler will receive the order and see if that product has had a purchase in the last 6 months. Okay. If that product has been purchased in the last 6 months, there's other rules that will be checked. But if it has been and it meets all those eligibility criteria, then the product is eligible for this credit-based replenishment model. Okay, so I hope that was clear. There are certain exclusions on the model. So controlled substances are excluded from the model, dropship items are excluded from the model, and things like that. Because it is based on look back period, if it's the first time that pharmacy is buying an NDC, for example, an NDC is being purchased for the first time, it was 340B eligible, that order is placed on the 340B account, then that will not be subject to the credit-based replenishment eligibility. Okay, so that's what it is. That's our starting point. That's our base on what this is. So now how do we implement this? How do we set this up? And that's where we're going to go to next. First thing you have to do is confirm that your wholesaler supports this. Does your wholesaler support a credit-based replenishment model for your contract pharmacy area? Okay, so that's first. And that is something that you will have to check with your wholesaler. Okay. Number two, does your 340B third-party administrator support this? The reason why I say that is because there are some models that are required for the 340B third-party administrator to support this. For example, we at PharmaForce support this with some of the wholesalers, and we have been very much supportive of this and have been wanting to be at the forefront of this. So we have interfaces with certain wholesalers that then supports this model. You will have to check the same for your 340B third-party administrator. Okay. Once you have those two things out of the way, then another critical party to this is your contract pharmacy. So your contract pharmacy, which when we get into the benefits, you'll see that they will love this, but your contract pharmacy then has to agree. So it has to be agreed by both parties. The covered entity, the contract pharmacy have to agree, yes, this is a way that we want to run our 340B program operations and are under our pharmacy services agreement. I'm good. Everybody gets a green light, thumbs up. And then you go to the wholesaler and configure it, do the account designation, provide that information in that process, however that process looks. Okay. So that's how you implement this model and then start, seeing the credit-based replenishment process start taking place after it's been implemented. All right, now I'm kind of breezing through this because this is all the simple stuff, getting all the simple stuff out of the way. So let's talk about the benefits. So what are the benefits? All of this comes with pros and cons. Okay. Now, what are the benefits? If you are on this call and you are a independent contract pharmacy, okay, you are most likely going to love this model. Okay. This model works really well from an independent pharmacy perspective, works really well from a specialty. I mean, I can't think of a location where this doesn't, or a situation where this doesn't, work really well. And I'm such a, a supporter of this. And whoever came up with this model, the mastermind behind this model is a very smart person. But here's a few of the benefits. So number one, it reduces inventory swell. I don't know about you, but I have been in the 340B space for over a decade, and I spent 6 to 7 years working for covered entities. And I can tell you, I had my share of experiences where a large order arrives at a contract pharmacy. Okay. It could have been a TPA mistake, it could have been plugged in wrong at the wholesaler, a whole host of reasons. But that is, if you've been in 340B, you are going to experience this at some point in time in your 340B program management journey, where your contract pharmacy is calling you and saying, hey, why did we get 60 totes of a product or something like that? Okay, it happens. It's part of the difficulty of operating a 340B program and all the different pieces that are part of that. So it reduces its inventory swell. It reduces situations where you might go back and be capturing historical claims that you found through an audit should have been captured, or through your program management you found that you hadn't updated your provider list, or your data feeds were not going through, and then a reprocessing happens and you captured all these claims, and now all these claims are ordered, and your pharmacy receives a large order, and then your pharmacy is yelling at you as a covered entity, why did this happen, and are upset. So it reduces all that. It removes that, because in this case, the credit will be placed on the retail account of the independent pharmacy. Okay. Number two, it improves the pharmacy cash flow. In a world where independent pharmacies are really hurting for cash flow and are being pushed out by some of the bigger chains and things like that, this is a big topic in the world of contract pharmacy. Is how do you help pharmacies with a cash flow? That's why we're big proponents of a pay on replenishment model here at PharmaForce. We think that is a model that is both pharmacy friendly and entity friendly, in the sense that it really helps the pharmacy in that, in a pay on dispense model, the pharmacy is out of the drug because they dispense it to the 340B patient. They have to pay the revenue associated with that prescription within a 30-day invoicing period. And they might not get paid by the PBM in, a 45, 60, or even greater number of days. So in a pay on dispense model, it creates pharmacy cash flow issues for the pharmacy. And I've heard that. I've been part of those conversations with pharmacy owners. So this model, just like the pay on replenishment model, is what I would consider pharmacy friendly, in the sense it improves the pharmacy cash flow. You're not buying these very expensive products, or these expensive products are not being replenished and then sitting on the shelf, right? I've talked to small independent pharmacies who says, hey, I only use that product for one patient. I can't have a $4,000 product sit on my shelf, right? But the way that traditional contract pharmacy models work is that product is shipped to the store. Okay. Number three, this is really important. If you're a covered entity, please pay attention to this. It's really, really important. It's really good, but it boosts your 340B savings. If you're paying attention to your 340B program, you're seeing your accumulations. In some cases, you might have a significant number of accumulations, but they're not being replenished. Some of that might be that the pharmacy does not want the shipment, or the pharmacy cannot host the shipment, or the pharmacy does not have the space for the shipment, does not have the refrigerator space for the shipment. So a lot of these things are things to consider as part of a 340B program, where that will allow the covered entity to have these eligible claims, but they're not able to replenish them. And if you're not able to replenish them, you're not then capturing the 340B savings associated with those 340B transactions. In this model, one of the benefits of a credit-based replenishment model is that basically goes away, because you are not sending physical product in most cases, but that product is being invoiced to the CE, being credited on the retail pharmacy account. Now, this works really, really well when you're doing a reprocessing. Again, 3 months go by. You were going through, you hired a new 340B contract pharmacy analyst or 340B program manager. They are going through and doing their program review, getting up to speed, and find out, oh, we haven't updated our provider list, or we haven't been sending encounters from our EMR from our rural health clinic, right? All these other scenarios that come up in the 340B program, and a reprocessing needs to take place. That usually leads to an accumulation of expensive products that then have to be shipped to the contract pharmacy. Sometimes contract pharmacies do not accept the shipment. And those accumulations then have to sit there in your 340B third-party administrator platform. Okay, so if you're doing a reprocessing, this is great for that. If you do referral capture, this is great for that. There's times where you're doing referral capture and you might be delayed a couple of weeks, right? Or you might go back and do a review of your claims and an audit to ensure that you captured everything. And in that case, if you're doing a referral capture review, you're capturing historical claims. You might also come into a scenario where the credit-based replenishment might really benefit you in that context. Another one, it reduces returns and improves efficiency of ordering process. So one of the things that's common in the 340B space is that a contract pharmacy will receive a product and then return it because they don't need it. They don't want to have an expensive product on their shelf. So they go and return it. Improve the efficiency of the ordering process. Well, not only do they not have to return stuff all the time and sort of keeping, so much track of that, but also from an ordering perspective, there's pharmacies today that have to log they have different covered entity agreements. So they have to log into 2, 3, 4 different third-party administrators to see what's coming and what's going to be shipped, so that then they can order up to their par levels on a non-340B account. So there's some inefficiencies that are created as part of having your normal contract pharmacy replenishment model that are addressed and are a benefit of having this credit-based replenishment model. All right, reduce the expired medications risk. Again, especially with the smaller independent pharmacies, if you're getting a product that you have one patient on, one patient in your town is on this one product, you have to buy it to dispense it to the patient. When it arrives on the 340B pricing, it's just sitting on your shelf. They might not need it. They might not come back for it. And some of that stuff gets expired. This reduces the risk of that. So again, another benefit of this model. Last that I want to mention on this is it allows for the replenishment of discontinued items. This is a huge one. If you're managing your 340B accumulations, you might have seen this example where you accumulate, and then the product is discontinued. And if that product is discontinued, then you run into a situation where you are not able to replenish that product, and therefore you miss out on all that 340B savings. But in this case, that is possible with this credit-based replenishment. All right. Now, let's move on to another really hot topic. Again, this topic, I want to say it's not new, but I want to say it's probably been the last 3, maybe 4. Don't hold me to that. 3, maybe 4 years that this has been, oh, it's going to get started. And then at the last minute, when everyone's preparing for it, everyone's freaking out about it. Everyone needs to get the GLNs and get this number and get that number and get ready and sign up here and go to this website. Then they say, hey, we're going to delay it a year. So it's happened time and time again. All right. One of these years is going to be 100%, and it's going to happen. It's going to be implemented. But DSCSA compliance. This credit-based replenishment, I believe, can help with this. So if you don't know what it is basically an act that was passed and that creates a mechanism by where there's a track and trace of each drug in the supply chain. So from the moment that the product is manufactured to that product's final destination of dispensation, there is a tracking ID and barcoding and all these other additional safety measures that are now going to be required as part of the supply chain from manufacturer to wholesaler, from wholesaler to pharmacy, from wholesaler to hospital inpatient pharmacy, et cetera, of each product that creates a little bit of complexity with the 340B program. Okay, so its goal, its primary goal, or I would say the overarching goal is to improve detection and prevention of counterfeit drugs. So this is a real problem where counterfeit drugs have entered the supply chain, and this is a way of adding an extra safety mechanism to ensure that that does not happen with this barcoding and adding drug ID and other things. As you can think about it, this has been implemented in several phases because of a really big project and a very big change in many areas. But the track and trace piece that will require for the tracking of each product is what is sort of coming. I want to say it's November of 2024 is when it's expected, or at least by the end of this year, it's expected that this is supposed to be fully live and implemented. So it enhances the drug supply chain security, transparency. There will be reporting provided by the wholesalers and other third-party platforms to sort of, allow you to check and audit that every product in your final destination, let's say that you are the contract pharmacy or the independent retail pharmacy, can be traced and has the proper tracing mechanisms back to its manufacturer. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, so this poses a little bit of a challenge to the 340B contract pharmacy replenishment model. I think some of that was very close to being sorted out last year. I was part of a bunch of webinars on trying to figure this out, educate our team and all of that. Essentially, there's burden now placed on the pharmacy and the CE to track to track all of this, to track the product and to make sure that the product is legit and came from a proper location. One of the things that's very common today are returns in a contract pharmacy replenishment model, where a pharmacy might receive a product and return it on their non-340B account. That will make it this will make it almost impossible and more difficult to do, because the account is one of those things where it has to be returned on the same account, same tracking ID that was actually shipped to the store. You can no longer just return something that was not received. If you're a pharmacy and you're buying from multiple wholesalers, there's going to be a very tight mechanisms in place that are going to make it add some operational burden and difficulty on pharmacies to manage all of this. But the credit-based replenishment model is so good in sort of being the counterpoint of the operational difficulty that this new Drug Supply Chain Act is going to add, because if you are able to reduce the number of products that are physically shipped, then you are lessening the burden on the pharmacy, the entity, and all parties involved in that process. So I think this model, just because I'm a big, proponent and supporter of the credit-based replenishment model, this is something that myself and my team are very much in support of, and have heard from the contract pharmacies how much they love this model, especially from pharmacies that have worked in both. This is going to be another major added benefit to this. I'm not going to say it's going to fix everything. I'm going to say it's still not going to lead to some challenges, but for the most part, it seems like it will be very helpful in this model. So the question, and Justin, were you going to say something? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, just in the sales process, what we're running into is that the covered entities are saying that their independent pharmacies are basically pushing or going to require a credit-based replenishment model. I know we have a lot of customers that are using this with the contract pharmacy successfully, but it seems to be almost a demand at this point. Even some switching wholesalers from, I know McKesson is not doing credit-based replenishment, Cardinal and ABCR, and these pharmacies are moving to those wholesalers that will credit-based replenishment. So just be on the lookout as a covered entity with your contract pharmacies that are independents. Reach out to them, I guess, get ahead of it, talk to them, and talk through this process. If it was me, I would be doing that.
Yep. Agreed. So the question of, is this the future of 340B? So I think it is. I think it is a great model for all parties. So it is a pharmacy friendly model, as Justin was saying. There's some pharmacies who are saying, hey, look, this is what we want to operate with. This is part of our sort of request, is that you choose a wholesaler that's supportive of this. It is a covered entity friendly model, because it is a model that makes it so the covered entity can be optimized in their 340B program management, as I mentioned, with some examples of reprocessing, referral capture, return management, and all these other things that are part of a 340B program. And I think ultimately it could fix many issues in the contract pharmacy world. As working at a third-party administrator, before this, working on the covered entity side, and being part of a lot of issues and support tickets related to replenishment and items that accumulated, but then the NDC got changed, or items that accumulated, but the pharmacy would not take the product because it was too much, or having to slowly draw down an order and working through months and months and months of doing that, right? There's just so many examples that I can go on and on and on and on about, that a credit-based replenishment model would really, really help. And I am a huge proponent of this being hopefully a model where 340B moves towards, that becomes the future of 340B contract pharmacy replenishment, because I think it's going to fix many issues that we encounter on a day-to-day basis if you're running a 340B program. All right.